In the freezing dawn of January 27, 2016, Nicole Lovell, a 13-year-old girl, slid a dresser to block her bedroom door, grabbed her minion's blanket, her cell phone, and escaped through the window. Expecting to meet her virtual boyfriend, the teenager didn't know she was walking into a deadly trap. Hours later, in the darkness of Craig Creek Road, near Virginia Tech, Nicole's body would be brutally attacked with 14 stab wounds, including a fatal cut to the throat. What began as a secret meeting between a vulnerable teenager and a stranger ended in one of the most shocking crimes in Blacksburg, Virginia. Stay until the end to understand how two exemplary college students meticulously planned this heinous crime and how small mistakes led to their capture. And if you're not yet subscribed, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any details of the most impactful criminal cases in recent history. The discovery of Nicole's body in a ditch in North Carolina shocked the Blacksburg community. But to understand how a teenager was lured to a fatal encounter, we need to go back to the beginning and learn who this young woman was whose life was so brutally interrupted. Nicole Madison Lovell had been a survivor since her first year of life. At 10 months of age, she had undergone a liver transplant that required her to take anti-rejection medications twice a day to stay alive. The visible scars left by the surgeries became a constant source of shame and made her an easy target for the merciless bullying from school peers. She hated going to school, confessed Tammy Weeks, her mother, to investigators. She frequently asked me to write notes excusing her from gym classes because the other girls mocked her scars. Nicole's family structure also contributed to her emotional fragility. Raised primarily by her mother and maternal grandparents after her father, David Lovell, abandoned the family even before her birth, the teenager grew up with an emotional void that she desperately sought to fill. Her father, with a criminal history for drug possession, was absent during critical periods of her development. In moments of loneliness, Nicole took refuge in the world of stuffed panda bears and social media posts that revealed her teenage anguish. Close friends reported that she occasionally expressed suicidal thoughts, convinced that nobody cared about her. Like so many lonely teenagers of her generation, Nicole found in the virtual world what reality denied her: acceptance and connection. The Kick Messenger app became her gateway to this parallel universe. The platform, known for allowing anonymous communications without requiring age verification or a valid email, had publicly declared that it targeted young users as part of its business strategy. It was in this unsupervised digital environment that Nicole began talking to strangers, including someone with a pseudonym that now sounds like a macabre omen, Dr. Tombstone. She had reinstalled the app after I told her to delete it, lamented Tammy, who admitted to not adequately supervising her daughter's online activities. What the mother didn't know was that, behind that somber name, was someone who was already planning to transform Nicole's life into a real tombstone. While authorities combed through Nicole's digital records, one username stood out among the messages: Dr. Tombstone. The FBI quickly traced the IP associated with this macabre pseudonym, revealing the real identity behind the digital mask. Behind the threatening codename was David Eisenhower, an 18-year-old freshman at prestigious Virginia Tech physically. Eisenhower was the antithesis of the stereotypical killer, a distinguished running athlete since high school, nicknamed Star Runner by local Maryland news outlets, his homeland. "I personally won't stop until I reach my maximum performance," Eisenhower declared in an interview during his senior year of high school, after winning 3 long-distance races at the state championship. This determination and excellence led him to Virginia Tech with an engineering scholarship. His university colleagues described him as intelligent and slightly arrogant, but nothing that diverged from the typical profile of an elite student. His grades were impeccable, his record immaculate. For all intents and purposes, David Eisenhower was the model of American academic success. However, behind the facade of academic and athletic excellence, there was a young man with disturbing tendencies. His roommate, Jeremy Bastio, would retrospectively notice strange behaviors, such as going out wearing rain boots on a dry night, returning only in the early hours. Other colleagues commented on his propensity to tell exaggerated stories about drinking feats that always ended with him passing out, in an apparent attempt to seem more experienced and worldly. The conversations between Nicole and Eisenhower began in late 2015 through the Ownville website, another platform for anonymous chats. As Eisenhower would later declare to the police, "I was bored in my dorm and connected to a site where you just talk to random strangers." In the first contacts, Nicole claimed to be 16 or 17 years old, still underage, but not as young as she really was. Communications soon migrated to Kik, where messages could be more easily hidden and deleted. A close friend of Eisenhower, Bryce Dustin, would later reveal to the police that David had shared details about this online relationship, admitting that Nicole had become a problem when he discovered her true age. Bryce's advice: if she wants to be your girlfriend, let her, but don't be the best boyfriend. Don't message her, just ignore her. She'll surely get tired of you and go away. Eisenhower ignored this advice. In December 2015, as phone records would later reveal, the two met in person for the first time. Even after clearly seeing that Nicole was only 13, Eisenhower continued the relationship, eventually crossing lines that would put him in panic about the legal consequences. Nicole's phone records revealed a disturbing dynamic between the teenager and the college student. In one of the last recovered message exchanges, Eisenhower wrote, "I need to emphasize that you cannot tell anyone about me because they will find a way to hurt you." Confused and frightened, Nicole replied, "Who will hurt me? Who are they? Why are you scaring me?" This exchange, later read during the trial, revealed the classic pattern of manipulation and control typical of online predators: isolation of the victim, creation of an atmosphere of secrecy, and veiled threats to ensure silence. At the same time, Eisenhower was sending messages to an unknown number in Pulaski, Virginia, asking about a good place to hide a body. Messages that he would later claim were just jokes, but which revealed the growing darkness in his thoughts. When Nicole began threatening to expose the relationship, either out of emotional frustration or because she perceived the danger he represented, Eisenhower concluded that he had only one way out. As prosecutor Mary Pettit would later state in court, Eisenhower had a problem, and his problem was Nicole Lovell. The solution to this problem would be brutal and irrevocable, traced with the same methodical precision with which he planned his competitive races and his engineering projects. While investigators unraveled Eisenhower's actions, a surprising revelation emerged: the college student did not act alone. During the interrogation, he asked the detectives if it would help him to mention that there was someone with him when he bought a shovel, a clumsy attempt at bargaining that paved the way for the discovery of his accomplice. What really transformed this case into one of the most disturbing in recent criminal history was the participation of Natalie Keepers, Eisenhower's 19-year-old college colleague. Her presence in this homicidal scheme defied all expectations. Daughter of a NASA engineer and an X-ray technician, exemplary engineering student at the same elite university, editorial team member, and musical theater actress in high school. She was among the top 15% of her class, a shock teacher would report. On the surface, Keepers seemed as unlikely as Eisenhower to participate in a heinous crime. Both were Maryland natives, raised just 13 miles apart from each other, and had briefly dated when they arrived at the university before establishing a deep friendship. What united these two promising young people was not just geographic proximity or shared academic interests, but something much more sinister. When investigators examined Keepers' phone, with her own permission, a crucial tactical error, they discovered messages that would chill anyone's blood. "I smell like cleaning products and have been near a lot of blood," she wrote in one of the exchanges. Confronted with this evidence, Keepers crumbled and admitted, "Nicole is dead." However, she insisted that she did not participate in the actual murder, only helped move the body and clean up the evidence, a distinction that would prove questionable as more details came to light. The messages recovered from the duo's phones revealed meticulous planning that lasted weeks, beginning in early January 2016. The two methodically discussed various ways to kill Nicole, from cyanide poisoning, swapping her vital medication, to shooting or stabbing. On a computer, investigators found Google searches such as "how long it takes to burn a body" and "how Dexter got rid of his bodies," a reference to the television program about a serial killer. At another point, Keepers advised Eisenhower bluntly, "Get rid of her. Kill." The motivation, as Keepers would later reveal, was fear. Eisenhower feared that Nicole would expose their illegal relationship or, more alarmingly, that she might be pregnant. What if I slept with her? What if she ended up pregnant? Eisenhower reportedly said, expressing his panic. But what would explain Keeper's participation in this scheme? Her own words would offer a disturbing insight. He loved the fact that we were working together, and that made me feel love and made me feel special. Made me feel like I was part of some kind of secret club that only he and I were part of, and it was the best club in the world. The eve of the crime revealed methodically calculated actions that would leave a trail of irrefutable evidence. On January 26th, local Walmart security cameras captured Eisenhower and Keepers buying a shovel, cleaning products, wet wipes, and gloves, the classic post-murder kit. After dining together at a fast food restaurant, the two finalized the details of their plan. Keepers would later claim that she stayed in her dorm while Eisenhower went to meet Nicole, but GPS records and forensic evidence suggested another story. What happened next was reconstructed by investigators. Close to 1 o'clock in the morning, Eisenhower stopped his car in an isolated area on Craig Creek Road. Autopsy results would reveal the brutality of what occurred. Nicole was first hit in the neck with a shovel, breaking a vertebra. Still alive, she fell to the ground where she was stabbed 14 times, 7 in the head and face, 7 in the chest. The fatal blow cut her throat. After the murder, Eisenhower placed the body in the trunk of his car along with the minion's blanket and her other belongings. The phone's GPS mapped his return to campus, not to confess or seek help, but to initiate the next phase of his plan with Keepers. The next day, the duo would return to Walmart to buy more cleaning supplies before transporting the body to an isolated location in North Carolina, near the property of Eisenhower's distant relatives. There, Nicole's body was stripped and discarded in a ditch, with the duo trusting that the cold weather would keep the smell down and that nature would take care of the rest in a few weeks. What they did not foresee was the speed and efficiency of the police investigation that was already forming, driven by the disappearance of a vulnerable teenager who desperately needed her daily medication to survive. While the crime was meticulously executed in darkness, an entire community awakened to a nightmare. On the morning of January 27, 2016, Tammy Weeks' morning routine was interrupted by a terrifying discovery. Nicole's bedroom door blocked by a dresser, the window open, and her daughter missing. "I pushed the door with all my strength," Tammy later reported, and saw that the nightstand had been placed against it. The room was empty, but contained alarming signs. The anti-rejection medications that Nicole needed to take twice a day remained untouched. For a liver transplant recipient, going without this medication for more than a day could be fatal. At 7:15 in the morning, Tammy triggered the alert, unleashing one of the largest search mobilizations in Blacksburg's recent history. "Police are looking for a missing girl who they say is in danger," announced local news outlets, showing Nicole's smiling photo. She was last seen at her family's apartment around midnight. Blacksburg and Virginia Tech, a community already marked by the tragedy of the 2007 massacre that claimed 32 lives, united again in solidarity. A massive operation was set up, mobilizing Blacksburg local police, Montgomery County Emergency Services, FBI agents specialized in missing children, a Virginia Tech Corps of Cadets, nearly 1,000 community volunteers, drones with infrared sensors to scan difficult-to-access areas. The intense winter cold in Virginia added urgency to the search. Nighttime temperatures dropped to around -4 degrees Celsius, 25 degrees Fahrenheit, dangerously low for someone without adequate shelter. On the third day of searches, with hope diminishing, investigators found something unusual in Nicole's room. On the inner wall of her closet, handwritten, were her usernames and passwords for various social media platforms, including the controversial Kik app. "It was as if she was leaving breadcrumbs for us to follow," commented an investigator. Simultaneously, a neighbor, mother of Nicole's friend, brought crucial information. Nicole had confided in having a secret older boyfriend and was planning to meet him that night. This revelation completely altered the course of the investigation, transforming a possible runaway case into a potential kidnapping. With the recovered credentials, FBI cybercrime specialists managed to access Nicole's accounts, discovering that her last communication had been with a user named Dr. Tombstone. Working with the Kik company, they obtained the IP address associated with the account. The technology that allowed Nicole to meet her predator now became the instrument to expose him. The IP address led investigators directly to the Ambler Johnston Hall dormitory on Virginia Tech's campus, exactly to the star athlete's room. On the afternoon of January 30th, 3 days after the disappearance, the suspect was taken in for questioning. Initially cooperative, he admitted to having talked with Nicole online, but claimed that their in-person meeting lasted only moments. "I get there, and then I see someone who probably looked like she was 11 years old coming out of a window, and I thought, not for me." His story quickly crumbled when confronted with GPS data from his car, showing his exact route that night, including a prolonged stop on Craig Creek Road, the same location described in his planning with his accomplice. Authorities also found a piece of paper in his dorm with Nicole's address written on it. In the early hours of January 31st, while the suspect was formally arrested for Nicole's kidnapping, search teams worked based on new information. The GPS had recorded a trip to North Carolina, and investigators concentrated their efforts in the border area. The body was located across the state border, in neighboring Surry County, North Carolina, near Route 89, officially announced Sheriff Graham Atkins, confirming the Lovell family's worst fear. At 144 kilometers from her home, Nicole's naked body was found in a ditch in a wooded area, exactly as planned by the perpetrators, near the home of distant relatives of one of them. The young woman who had survived a liver transplant in childhood, who dreamed of participating in American Idol, who just wanted to be loved and accepted, had her life brutally interrupted by those who took advantage of her vulnerability. Evidence accumulated quickly. In a university dormitory, inside a gym bag hidden in another bag, police found the missing Minions blanket from Nicole's room, now stained with blood. In the trunk of the car used in the crime, traces of blood persisted despite cleaning attempts. And the shovel purchased at Walmart, with fingerprints from both individuals involved, showed bloodstains that DNA tests would confirm belonged to the victim. While the Blacksburg community gathered for a candlelight vigil at Lantern Ridge Apartments, where Nicole lived, forensic investigators from Virginia and North Carolina began the meticulous task of reconstructing the last moments of the teenager's life, revealing a crime whose coldness and premeditation would shock even the most experienced police officers. With Nicole's body recovered and evidence accumulating, the investigation entered its most intense phase. The interrogations revealed the first cracks in the alliance between the two college students who had meticulously planned the crime. During the initial questioning, the Virginia Tech athlete desperately tried to minimize his involvement. "I didn't even get out of the car," he insisted, claiming he gave up on the meeting upon realizing Nicole's true age. But the technology he studied as an engineer now betrayed him. GPS records from his vehicle traced an incontestable map of his journey that night, including the prolonged stop at Craig Creek Road. The physical evidence was equally damning. Despite cleaning attempts, forensic technicians found blood in the trunk of his car. The shovel purchased at Walmart had fingerprints and bloodstains that DNA tests would confirm belonged to the victim. Pieces of skin found under Nicole's nails, lost during attempts to clean the body, contained DNA that irrefutably linked him to the crime. Feeling cornered, he tried his last card, implicating his college colleague, asking investigators if it would help to mention that he wasn't alone when buying the shovel. This revelation led to the detention of the engineering student, who initially maintained the narrative that she only helped hide the body after the crime. "I thought he was joking," she claimed during the initial interrogation. "I didn't think he would actually kill her." However, when investigators examined her phone, the story that emerged was very different. Text messages exchanged between the two not only revealed prior knowledge and detailed planning, but also her disturbing enthusiasm. "Get rid of her. Kill," she advised in one message. After the crime, another message showed her celebrating. "You deserve a good night's sleep." 2 years passed between the crime and the trials. During this period, prosecutors meticulously built their case, analyzing every fragment of digital and forensic evidence. Finally, in February 2018, the main accused trial began. Initially pleading not guilty to all charges, his stance changed dramatically on the fourth day, when the prosecution read in court one of the last message exchanges between him and Nicole. "I need to emphasize that you cannot tell anyone about me because they will find a way to hurt you," he had written. "Who will hurt me? Who are they?" "Why are you scaring me?" responded the confused teenager. Faced with this and other overwhelming evidence, he changed his plea to no contest, not contesting the charges, but also not admitting guilt. The judge accepted this change and found him guilty of all 3 charges: first-degree murder, kidnapping, and concealment of a dead body. "I regret the pain my actions caused to Nicole Lovell and her family," he declared at sentencing, visibly emotional for the first time during the process. "It is my deepest regret, and I am aware that my actions have serious consequences. Nothing can undo what has been done, and for that I am deeply, sincerely, and forever sorry." The judge was relentless. 50 years in prison for the murder, plus 10 for the kidnapping and 5 for the concealment of the corpse, with 15 years suspended and 20 years of probation after serving the sentence. He was also ordered to pay $5,130 in restitution to the family. In September of the same year, his accomplice faced her own trial, with a surprising defense strategy. Her lawyers portrayed her as a mentally compromised young woman, bringing neuropsychologists to testify. These experts diagnosed her with 7 distinct disorders: borderline personality disorder, depersonalization derealization disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizotypal disorder, panic disorder, dependent disorder, persistent depressive disorder. The defense argued that these conditions made her easily influenced and distorted her perception of reality. She thought it was all a fantasy, her lawyers claimed, something that wasn't real. In one of the most bizarre moments of the trial, she described herself as a sociopath in training under the influence of her friend, who saw in her an apprentice for his psychopathic tendencies. "He made me feel like I was part of some kind of secret club that only he and I were part of, and it was the best club in the world," she declared. But the prosecution came prepared. Playing audio recordings and text messages, they demonstrated that she was not only aware of the plan, but showed enthusiasm and even pride after its execution. The jury was not convinced by the defense narrative. After only 1 hour of deliberation, an exceptionally short time for a murder case, they returned with the verdict: guilty as an accomplice before and after the fact, and for concealment of a dead body. The sentence, 40 years in prison, followed by 10 years of probation. In one last attempt at redemption, she addressed Nicole's family: "I'm sorry. I wish I had stopped it. I never meant for this to happen." The theatrical commotion seemed out of place after all the evidence presented about her enthusiasm for the crime. In December 2020, her appeal for a new trial was denied, definitively closing the legal aspect of the case. But for Nicole's family, emotional closure remains elusive. "I'm just numb now. It's not real," declared Tammy weeks after the sentencing of her daughter's killer. "I go to bed hoping it's all a nightmare." Nicole's father, David Lovell, revealed that he developed PTSD and struggles with depression since his daughter's murder. "It's a horrible crime. There's nothing that can happen in the courtroom that will fix this." For the inhabitants of Blacksburg, the university community of Virginia Tech, and especially for the Lovell family, justice was technically served with the heavy sentences. But the permanent absence of Nicole, the girl who survived a liver transplant only to have her life interrupted by predators who exploited her vulnerability, leaves a void that no judicial sentence could fill. And what did you think of this tragic case? Leave your opinion in the comments below. If you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to receive notifications about new videos. Your subscription is fundamental for us to continue bringing cases like this. Until the next video.